Today we're making healthy meals from the Dollar Tree using only $6.25. I made 5 different meals and I used a lot of the vegetables from the freezer section to make sure that the meals were as fresh as I possibly could make them, as the Dollar Tree doesn't carry a lot of fresh fruits and vegetables. And here are the 5 ingredients we will be using. I got a bag of brown rice, a bag of lentils, a bag of the California blend, a bag of pepper stir fry, and a can of diced tomatoes. I also used a few pantry staples for free: a little bit of oil, salt, some minced garlic, some garlic powder, some white pepper powder, some cumin, and some curry powder. I went ahead and started prepping all of the main ingredients for the meals, which included 2 cups of the brown rice. So we actually had a lot of brown rice left for future meals. And then I also made 2 full cups of the lentils as well. I went ahead and rinsed my rice out and added in the water and let it start cooking. And then I got to work on the lentils. I also like to add about a teaspoon of salt into my pot before I start cooking the rice. That way it can start absorbing the flavor of the salt and make sure everything's well seasoned. Then I went ahead and started adding my lentils into my pot. You're going to see this pot changes just because I didn't remember how much they puffed up, and I realized later on that they were going to overflow in this pot. So I put 2 cups of lentils in, and then you put in double the water. You're going to go ahead and rinse them before you add in that water as well, and make sure you pick out any odd shaped ones or anything. And then you also don't want to add salt at this point because it will make them a little harder. The outside of it can get a little harder as a result of adding salt. I went ahead and let those start cooking, and I opened up my bags of veggies just to see what we're working with. It's always interesting to me to see the ratio of different vegetables. This one's actually really well proportioned as far as like the broccoli and cauliflower were both almost even, and as far as carrots go, there were a few fewer, but for the most part they were the same amount. I then went ahead and opened up the pepper and stir fry blend, and there's a whole lot of peppers in that bag, so I'm pretty impressed with how much you get for $1.25 actually for that, just because at other stores I've seen it go for $2.50 for a bag like that. I went ahead and portioned out each of the meals what I would be using veggie wise, so you can kind of see already the little clumps of finely diced white things that you see is I took some of the onions out of the pepper onion stir fry mix and just kind of diced it up really small. So that's what you're seeing there. And then I went ahead and also took several of the big things of cauliflower and chopped up really finely like a riced cauliflower, because that's what I'm planning on making, is like a mixture of riced cauliflower with a brown rice in one of the dishes. And here are all our lentils. It went ahead and absorbed all of that water, so I didn't have to worry about draining them or doing anything as far as, working with the extra water, because it absorbed it all. And here's our brown rice. So we're going to start plating up everything and getting everything cooked together. This first meal is going to be curried lentils and cauliflower over brown rice. I went ahead and added in just some juice from the tomato sauce from the can of cubed tomatoes, and then I started adding in my spices. I used garlic powder, curry powder, and white pepper. I've really been enjoying using white pepper lately. I feel like it's just the right amount of spice without it being too spicy. I also went ahead and added my veggies. I'm going to have specific amounts of everything in the description box below. I like to add things into the description box after I finish cooking, because as I cook, I sometimes tweak the recipe. If I find it's lacking in salt, I will bump up the salt, or I'll bump up, the different spices in the recipes, because I am tweaking them as I'm making them up as I go along. Now you can see I took some of the brown rice and patted it into that cup measurer just to make a nice little shape. And then our meal is ready. We're just ready to plate it up, and everything cooked together. The flavors all melted together, and this is what we have for our finished plate. This was delicious. I actually had this for lunch today at work, and it was quite filling and really delicious. Next, we're making stir-fried lentils and brown rice. You're going to use a little bit of oil and heat that up in your pan, and then saute your onions and a little bit of your minced garlic as well. And this is gonna add a lot of flavor. When you saute the onions and garlic first, it really helps bump up the flavor in your dishes. And you can feel free to do that with any of the dishes that I've shown so far that have onion in them, because I've sometimes just added it in with everything else. But you can always start it out just with the onion and add everything else after you've sauteed the onion a little bit. Now I'm adding in the veggies and just stirring it all together, making sure it doesn't burn on the bottom, but everything gets well coated with the oil and helps to stir fry the rice. Now, if you're wanting to add in more protein, you could always add more lentils in, or you could even add in a scrambled egg if you have that on hand. That would taste really good in the meal. I added in the lentils, then I gave everything a good stir, just making sure that it doesn't burn on the bottom and that everything gets well cooked through. I was really excited for all of these meals as I was making them, because I would taste it just to make sure everything tasted right. And several times I caught myself taking several tastes because it was really delicious. Next, we're making this tomato sauced lentils over brown rice. Now you'll see that we have a lot of lentil themed dishes because that's our main protein. So I did try to make sure every single one of these dishes had lentils in it, just to help balance out the protein in our dishes. If you are not a fan of lentils, you could always use chickpeas as an option. That would taste really good in all of these dishes. And you could also use ground turkey or ground beef if you wanted to instead. The flavors would taste really well with all of these dishes, and it would mix really well with the other ingredients that are included in each of the recipes. Now, unless I've missed something, I do believe this entire meal plan is actually not just vegetarian but vegan, because we don't have anything from an animal or animal byproducts, and I don't believe any of the ingredients that I used had anything like that in it, even the spices. So if you're looking for some vegan meal options, this might be for you. And if you're trying to stay on a budget, which I know can be really difficult if you have a specific diet you're trying to follow, especially now, then this might be a good option. This next meal is a roasted veggies over brown rice meal. I did use cumin as a seasoning in it. I used cumin a lot in this meal plan just because I feel like it goes really well with lentils and the veggies as well, and it really adds a good punch of flavor, which sometimes if you got very simple ingredients, you need some really good spices to help to bring out the flavors in the meal and make things more interesting. Our last meal are these roasted pepper and onion lentils with cauliflower brown rice. Now, I've seen several places that sell like a mixture of rice or regular rice with cauliflower rice mixed in, just to help lower the calorie count or to help add in more veggies and more nutrition into what would otherwise be a pure starch or carb heavy kind of meal. So I wanted to mimic that. I went ahead and added in that cauliflower into the pan without any oil and just kind of dried it out by cooking it and stirring it frequently so that it didn't burn on the bottom. And then I went ahead and added in a little bit of garlic powder and added in that brown rice and set that to the side. I served it alongside the pepper and onion lentils that I made on the side. Full recipes will be in the description box below. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope if you're trying to eat healthy and stay on a tight budget this new year that these meals have been helpful. I'll see you in the next one.